Hey, this is Old Buck Dave back again, this time with another interview of an interesting character from my world. Today's guest is Terry, the male version, who's a longtime cycling buddy and all-around good guy. He's a master craftsman, an ingenious problem solver, a computer wizard, amateur chef, and a darn good cyclist. In fact, we met when I joined a local cycling group that he rode with. We hit it off immediately, and as I got to know him, I learned what a multi-talented guy he is. His nickname is Superman, so that should give you a hint. I hope you enjoy listening to Old Buck Terry tell us a little bit about himself and how he sees the world around him. As always, your comments are welcomed. Send them to buckstwoold@gmail.com. Now here's Terry. Old Buck Terry, are you out there?
Yeah, I'm out here.
All right, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
We just finished a bike ride a little bit ago, folks, so we're both basically worn out. Cutting into our nap time here.
The memorial ride, I guess you'd call it. Or
Yeah.
the last ride of the season.
Last ride of the season here, yeah, in the Berg, yeah.
Between us, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I want to talk a little bit about your family first, a little bit about your family history, if you don't mind. Now, your name sounds French, and it's like the same name as a famous large corporation, family-named corporation in the USA, known for its better living through chemistry. Yours is pronounced slightly differently, so tell us a little bit about where the family came from, when they came over, and.
My daughter did some research on our family name. It was misspelled, I guess, when my grandpap came over. So that's where the D Ponte come from.
Okay.
It's supposed to be over the bridge, like DI, I think it is. But it turned out to be DE. That's why it sounds like it's French. She did some research on that, but both of my grandparents were born in Italy, and my mother was born here, and my dad was born here. I did the 23andMe thing, and my gene pool was 96% Italian. So
wow,
that's
a lot of pasta and olive oil, baby. That's great.
That's true.
Wow. So do you know what part of Italy did the family come from? And why did they come over?
It was mostly, I think, my grandpa. They lived through World War I over there, and he said it was just, it was just deplorable conditions. And he was a hard-working man, and I think it was the same on both sides. They decided to come over. That's why they come over, for a better life,
Like everybody, really, yeah.
Yeah, right, like everybody. But Riccia, Campobasso is a big region in Italy, and Riccia is a little town about 30 minutes from Campobasso by car. And it was a little hilltop, a walled town with a little it's an area where they could look out and make sure nobody was attacking them or whatever. There's a lot of history over there compared to what we have. But
they've been around a lot longer, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess in just walking the same streets that your ancestors walked on a couple hundred years ago. So that's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, it was. It gets your roots back. Brings you back to earth a little bit.
Speaking of family, now tell me a little bit about your family. I know you've got a son and a daughter.
In their early 30s. I started a little bit late having my children, but they're doing well and they're established. They're not too far away, so I do get to see them once in a while. Margie's my spouse. She's very nice, and we have a nice little home here, and everything's going good.
I mentioned that your nickname is Superman. Now, the reason he got that nickname, folks, is this guy can do anything. He can design anything. He can build anything. He can fix anything. He's incredible, and I mean, he's self-taught in so many ways.
Yeah.
He's also a wizard machinist, which was most of your career, if I recall.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So
It was
tell
like
us
all of my career.
all
So
of your career. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your work career here and some of the highs and lows.
well, the lows was the all the the downturns in the machining industry throughout the 70s and late 70s, early 80s, and then things picked back up again. It seemed like in the 90s and a little beyond that. But I changed jobs numerous times, and then ended up finishing up in my best position, cleanest.
Mm-hmm.
That it was probably the most frustrating, but the most rewarding at the same time because of the nature of the work.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit? I know you you worked on some massive pieces of equipment.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to say some of that stuff, but anything that you could share with us to
Yeah.
give people an idea of the size and complexity of the kind of stuff that you were building.
There were pumps for the nuclear navy. There's nothing top secret about them. I mean, there is a lot of top secret stuff about them, but nothing that I'll talk about anyhow. But they weighed upwards of 93, 95 tons, depending on what they had on them. And you're talking, the precision of millimeters, small numbers, high precision, just big, heavy pieces of rotating machinery that moved a lot of water for nuclear reactors on the aircraft carrier,
Oh, okay.
and submarines too. But
And submarines, yeah.
yeah, submarines aren't as big, but
Mm-hmm.
those were the biggest parts I worked on.
That had to be.
And then some of the stuff when I worked at Elliott Company was pretty massive. One, they moved air there, and we moved water at the last place where I worked. Same field, but just different applications. That's
So you never dropped an 80-ton pump or anything like that?
I did see that somebody did. I didn't do it, but there was a part that got dropped.
Oh,
No, I never had any serious accidents dropping anything or anything like that.
how about any serious accidents on the bicycle? Probably not there either. Well, I remember. I,
You had to bring that up.
uh,
Yeah, one serious accident. It could have been worse than what it was. I think it was due to lack of hearing and lack of me paying attention and want an extra quarter mile to round up to 25 miles or something like that. And that was my fault. I ran
as I
into
recall, this didn't even happen on the road, right?
no, it was in the parking
A
lot.
parking lot crash with a car because you're trying to round up to the next mile.
That's all it was. That's
Uh,
exactly what I was trying to
okay.
do. Yeah.
Even Superman's not always totally impregnable, I guess.
No, no, no. You know that from the movie.
That's the movie based on your life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you've taken your skills home with you because I know you've restored a couple cars and you've done a beautiful job on them. You want to tell us a little bit about how you got into the
Yeah.
car?
Well, I was always a car guy. The mechanics was in my blood. I remember a story of working with my neighbor. I went over to the neighbor's house when I was growing up, and the guy was there putting a bicycle together, and he couldn't figure it out. And I showed him how to do it. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old or something, one of them things. But I was kind of born with that. And then we did some go-kart stuff and mini bikes and all that kind of things, And then the more I got into machining, then we did some drag racing with some I used to do some street racing, and then my one friend worked with him with a couple drag cars that he owned, and we used to go quite often to the drag strip. Well, then I bought Lincoln Continental. I bought
Mm-hmm.
that was just one of them Italian things back in the day. And
Italian.
I had it for 26 years.
So the Lincolns are made in Italy? I didn't know that. Come on.
Now the thing is with the Italian and the Lincoln, we just look good in it.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Of course. If you got it, flaunt it, right?
Oh my.
Okay.
Anyhow, I sold that, and I got interested in street rods. Come down and checked it out with me, and then I ended up buying it, and I still have it. But then I decided to. I found a pickup truck, 53 Ford pickup truck, and that's the one I did from the ground up. The street rod was kind of unfinished. I kind of finished it, and then recently, not too long ago, I had bought a 70 Ford pickup. It was an Arizona truck. It was really nice, and I got it to use it, which I did do. And then I found another 53 Ford, so I sold that truck and bought this other 53 Ford and put a transmission in it, did some stuff like that. But the first 53 I did from the ground up. That was a 2.5 year process. I built the motor, built the suspension, fit all the pedals, fit the cab, did everything. And I worked with the guy 3 days a week doing the body work. Wow. He was just better at it than I am. He painted it, but I worked with him sanding, and he did all the buffing and stuff like that. But that's my baby.
And it is beautiful, folks. I got to tell you, it is stunningly beautiful. I wish we could show pictures on our website, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Okay.
When we do, it'll be one of the first things up there. It's really a work of art. I think people that don't do that kind of stuff don't appreciate the craftsmanship and workmanship that goes into it.
I think me and you've had this conversation. Art is interpreted by people in many different ways, which you know and I know.
Right, yeah.
That's my canvas. That's what I do. That's how I show my abilities.
That's how you express your artistic abilities. Yeah.
Right.
And you do a heck of a job at it too. So I know you've had some other retirement projects. You got to tell everybody about your 1800s drill press that you brought back to life.
Well, a good friend of mine has been collecting things for his entire life, and no matter what it was, if he liked it, he brought it home. I was in Ontario, Canada, with friends of ours, and I was walking around, and I found this old distillery. And it was turned into shops, and like most of these new ones are. I saw this machine in there, and being I was a machinist, I took interest in it, and it was an old drill press. So I sent some pictures back to my buddy. I said, "Hey," I said, "check out this old drill press." He sends me a thing back. He says, "I have one of them."
Oh, so then of course he does.
Yeah, of course he does. And then he sends me the pictures of it. It's laying on the ground out at his place on its side, and it was covered up with rubber roofing. So the one day he said to me, he says, "You want that drill press?" I said, "Well," I started thinking about it. I said, "Yeah," I said, "I'd like to have it, but," I said, "I'm not bringing it back here to clean it." I said, "I'm leaving all the dirt at your house," because it was outside for all them years. So I got suited up, and I had a face shield and a mask, and
probably looked like an alien.
Yeah, I had like 5 different grinders, from anywhere from wire wheels to whatever kind of sander, everything imaginable to clean this thing. And I spent about 5 hours on it out of his place, and it got to the point where we had everything moving, everything loosened up, everything oiled up, and it was pretty clean. And that's when I had that 70 Ford. That was a 3/4 ton truck. And naturally, he has a crane truck. That's what we loaded it into my truck with.
Doesn't everybody? Come on. Yeah.
So we get it in the truck, and the truck handled it fine. I drove it the whole way home and everything. And I was so wiped out that day. So I just left. I pulled the truck in the garage with the drill press on the truck. And I have an engine lift. So the next day, I spent the better part of 8 hours rigging this drill press to get it out of my truck. First, I got it out horizontal, then I had to set it down, and pick it up part way and set it, in a different angle, and then rehook it. I don't know how many times I rehooked it. And I eventually got it stood up without it killing me. It weighed, we weighed it at his house on the crane truck. It weighed 1,250 pounds. Yeah.
That puts it in perspective, isn't it?
Yes, it does.
It's not your 1/4-inch drill. This is heavy duty.
It has automatic feed, and the table rotates. The table goes up and down. You can move the table 90 degrees out of the way and use the base table on the floor. So you could probably drill something 4 feet tall if you had to. You know, it's very, very useful. You know, as far as a drill press, because it's very heavy. Well, you know what it looks like. It's very heavy duty. And then I found a place to make me some belts, and it's still belt drive on the one. That's how you change speeds with the belts. And then I put electric motor on it to power this.
I thought that was a great story about you went to a shoe repair shop, was it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And he made leather belt. He made a leather belt or belts for you for this thing.
He made me a belt for me. Yeah, 2.5-inch wide leather belt, and then there was a small belt 1 inch wide that runs the power feed. Yeah.
Amazing.
I use it more than I thought I would, you know, honestly, because it can do a lot of things, and it's a tapered spindle, so I can add different attachments and boring head and different things. And I could do a lot with it. Yeah.
And what's the vintage on this? The year is around.
Yeah, I would believe that it was, somewhere around 1900, maybe a little sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't find a date on it anywhere, but it's an old machine.
It's old.
It has Babbitt bearings, and that's the thing that saved it. You know, there was no ball bearings or anything like that. They were just lead, and all you had to do was put some oil in the cup holes and just work it back and forth a little bit. Once the oil got around through the Babbitt, it just turned like it always did.
That's what I always do with Babbitt bearings. Yeah, people are going, "What the heck is he talking?" Again, he is a Superman, folks. He does it all. Let me tell you something else that he did. He taught himself how to weld, and he built 2 welding tables. All right, these are the world's heaviest and second heaviest welding tables, I believe. One's for inside, and one's for inside his massive toy garage, and the other one is for outside projects. You could land a helicopter on that one. I'm telling you, this thing is solid. I can't imagine how you even moved it.
Well, it was interesting moving it. The guy that we didn't want to call a certain name, my good friend of mine there, he's been real good at moving junk around for 40 years, you know. So me and him both, we used the engine lift to get it outside, and then we dragged it into place by strapping to the tree and using a ratchet come along. Wow. That table weighs 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds.
That was a fun project. It really was. I mean, it was a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but it was a fun project. I actually went and bought a power hacksaw off a guy near here. That's how I sawed all the angle iron and everything that I made the frame out of.
And of course, there's the golf cart that you restored. Now you can ride a golf cart around the property.
But that wasn't more. It was more of a resurrection than a restoration, because I got it as a basket case. It was completely tore apart, and the mice had got to the wiring before I got it. Mm-hmm. And they patched a lot of the wiring up with the, connectors and this and that. And from what I gathered when I printed out the wiring diagram, that everything was wired correctly, but the thing wouldn't run, and it would not run. And then I had spark, I had compression, I had everything I needed to make it run. It wouldn't run. And then we moved the stator plate inside for the ignition, and then I got it to run it forward, but it wouldn't run in reverse. Well, then I was doing a bunch of research and got on Buggy's Gone Wild.
Buggy's Gone.
And
who knew there was a Buggy's Gone Wild website?
I didn't know. I found it.
You found it.
Yeah, and there was some guru on there. The guy really helped me out. He started telling me how to test everything as far as ignition went, because this is an older golf cart. It's from like a 1985 or something. And so I start testing everything. Everything started coming out good, you know. And then all of a sudden, I realized that the key switch on my cart, left was forward and right would have been reverse. And then I found a picture of the golf carts that it was opposite. Well, in order for that to happen, I had to switch two wires on the forward and reverse solenoid. And once I did that and I put everything back to the way it should have been inside the engine, the ignition system, it fired up and ran perfect.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Duh. That's what I would have done. Hey, I know you've cleared some land around the property there. You've done some landscaping, and I got a kind of a philosophical question for you. You're like, you know, you make Tim the tool guy look like a rookie. If you've got an axe, okay,
all right,
and let's say you're working and you chip the axe and you replace the head, all right, and then you keep working, then the handle breaks.
Okay.
All right, now you replace the handle.
Right.
Now, is it the same axe? Is it still the same axe?
Philosophically?
Anyway, yeah. What do you think?
I would say yes, it is.
Okay, all right.
Because it's an extension of you, and it.
There you go.
I mean, it's a tool. It becomes something that you use and make it do what it's supposed to do, and it in turn does what it's supposed to do. So yeah, I would say it is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair answer. I'll take that answer for 800. Sure. Yeah, that's a good one. Enough of the heavy labor stuff here. Tell us about some of your bicycling adventures. I know we've had a lot of those over the years. Any bicycle stories that really stick with you?
Well, the one that comes to mind is that the day you said to me, I need a roomie for the MS ride. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, well, that'd be a great thing, you know, because we were good friends anyhow. So we do this MS 150 ride, and we get up to where, you know, our halfway point for the night and everything. And it was pretty hot and sweaty that day.
And that was at Penn State, right?
Yes, it was.
75 miles to Penn State and then 75 miles back on another route.
Yeah, and it was like 94 degrees.
It was a terribly hot day.
The first day.
Oh, yeah.
And we got up there, and for whatever reason, some of the vintage vixens that were with us that couldn't get into their room because it wasn't ready yet, and they wanted to take a shower more than we did, I guess. That's how I would put it. So we let them, we said, yeah, go ahead. You can use our room. We don't care, you know. So they got some extra towels and they went up and.
We were not in the room, by the way. Just make this clear to everybody.
Yeah, we were outside.
we were outside having a drink.
Yes, exactly. And then.
Water.
Yeah. Okay.
It was mostly water. It was mostly
water. Yeah. It had like beer flavoring, maybe water with some beer flavoring.
Maybe grape juice. I don't know.
Yeah, grape juice. But at and then they come out and they said, oh, we're all done. Yeah, thanks a lot, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, okay. So we proceeded to go up to the room, and every cupboard, every television, every door, everything we opened.
The mirror.
Everything had lipstick on it with big lips and hearts. And
big hearts and lips and lots of kisses. It was so funny.
We were set up big time.
Oh man, they got us. Big time.
That was a pretty good one there. And then I don't believe it was the same weekend, but the time we went down to the bar to have a drink, and I found some name tags on the way out to the bathroom. And I came back in and I put a name tag on all three of us sitting at the bar. And you just became Joyce Witt. I'll never forget it.
That was my new name.
That was your new name. And there was a couple of ladies down at the end of the bar, and they were looking at us like, what the heck? Where did you guys come from? You know, And we're like going on, and all of a sudden they couldn't help themselves. They asked us, "Says, where did you get them name tags or something like that?" And it was totally random. They were sitting outside of it on a table. We were all supposed to be wearing them, but nobody did. And it was her. It was actually her. That could have never
met somebody
happened.
with the same name. Yeah, it was like 900 people there.
Yeah. It was like hitting the Powerball
Almost like
jackpot.
hitting the Powerball. Oh
Yeah,
man,
that was really something.
that was pretty
But you
bizarre.
know yourself, and we've had some tremendously good times together at different little parties, and so things associated with biking, and that it's been fantastic. I mean, it's what a way to enjoy your life.
It's been a good been a good way to spend some time outdoors with good
Yeah,
friends and
right, and develop new
getting
friends and
getting
all of
healthy,
that.
staying healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
fun.
I know you're Superman, but if you could have a superpower, what would you like it to be?
I guess the ability to know what people think about you before you even talk to them. That might be
Ah,
that might be the one thing I'd like to know.
yeah,
Probably save you a lot of time throughout your life. If
yeah, I'll say.
somebody doesn't think the best of you, then you don't even have to
There
bother
you
with
go.
them. You just
Yeah.
move
All
on.
right. Yeah. So you have a bucket list, is there a top thing on your bucket list that you want to do before you move into that machine shop in the sky?
I'm really looking forward to, after some of the dust settles with all this pandemic stuff, of going to some more of the national parks, and seeing more of this, of the United States itself. I've never been a big traveler, and I have traveled more the last 3 years than I ever did. And I really enjoyed Italy, and I wouldn't mind going back there one more time. But I haven't seen enough of the United States. That's one thing I'd probably really like to do.
Shifting gears again. Beatles or Stones? Which is it?
I would say I'm more of a Beatles fan.
Okay. You know
Yeah,
why? I'm just curious. There's no right or wrong answer to this one. It's just
I know the Stones have been around forever too, but it was probably because of the Ed Sullivan Show and stuff that I was exposed to when I was a kid.
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably where that came from.
hmm Even though the Stones were just hanging out in Pittsburgh with us here a couple days ago, right?
I guess they really had a good concert. I mean, God bless them for doing what they do as long as they've been doing it.
These are guys that are older than I am, if you can imagine that. Way older than you.
Yeah, way older
Yeah,
than me. But
yeah,
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 they're super talented. They know how to do it, and they know how to make people, and they have to love it, because that's a tough life.
yeah. Hey, the
Even though
Stones. Yeah,
it's glamorous, it's just still a tough life
yeah,
traveling all around every night, doing a different show, all that.
yeah. Well, hey, the Stones may be the world's greatest rock and roll band, but the kind of the Beatles changed music, back in the day.
Yeah, right. Things are good.
You're certainly our number one Old Buck Terry listener. Now I think we probably have some maybe vintage Vixen Terrys as well, maybe one or two out there. I'm
Yeah,
just guessing. 'Cause Terry, that name can go either way. That's a good name. There's a lot of flexibility there.
that's right. That's
So
right.
so
Yeah.
listen. On that note, I'm going to say thanks very much for agreeing to the interview, and I hope people got a better feeling for one of the guys that I love to hang around with, and so we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
So this is Old Buck Dave saying adios.
It's old Buck Terry saying the same thing.
All
Bye.
right.